Let's talk forgiveness. I know it's not a fun subject, and it's one that you probably would rather not think about, especially when you got a business to build and run, that there's a whole lot more important things, and you've worked on it and you'll get back around to it. But here's the thing. If there's anybody that you're hanging out with in a place of hurt or betrayal or wishing it were different, all of that is creeping in and keeping you from having full access to your amazingness, your creativity, your boldness, your confidence. All of that erodes your ability to truly go forward with your dream business. So why is forgiveness important, and how do you do it? My name is Felicia, Searcy, your Dream Life Activator. It is my joy to be your partner in believing. And in this live, during the month of love, February, as we just celebrated Valentine's Day, I encourage you to stick around with me. And let's dig into this topic of forgiveness, understanding why is it important? Why would I be talking about it in a women's business group, and how do you do it? And I'm going to encourage you to stick around to the end, because I have an amazing invitation for you that I would love to offer. So we've all heard that forgiveness is important, that it's a really important spiritual practice for all of us to have. And you may have a forgiveness practice, yet there's still those people in your life that just seem to be sticking points, that you're just not able to let go of the hurt and the betrayal. And, in those quiet moments, you can feel yourself nursing it. And how could they have done that to you? And, how could you have allowed it to happen? Or, or maybe even, wow, maybe it's just not that big of a deal, but deep down, it is a big deal. And you've tried, you've prayed about it, you've said I'd forgiven, but there's still just this piece that just gnaws at you. And, all the while you got a business to build, that you've got this amazing dream that you're pouring your heart and your soul and your energy into, and, you just don't have time, that you gave it what it needed, and you just don't have time to really think about it anymore. And you're just moving on. Well, here's the thing I want you to hear. We don't just move on. That stuff goes underground. It works its way into your skin, into your tissue, and it shows up. And it shows up at the most inopportune time. And so as you're building a business, why is forgiveness important? Why is it important to really let go, to really be in that place of at peace? You want, when somebody walks down the streets of your mind, you want peace. You want a deep sense of peace. And so let me share with you why it's important to forgive, especially as you're building a business. And then I want to walk you through a forgiveness process that, as a minister, I ministered at church for 15 years and walked people through lots of forgiveness processes, walked myself through forgiveness processes, to where you truly have that deep sense of well-being. You have peace. You have access to all of you. And in order to build a dream, whatever that dream is, and you're in this group, so, the dream of a business, you have to have access to all of you. All right, so why is this important? Well, if we go back to what I fundamentally share with you every time we come together, that I want you to understand just how amazingly powerful you are. It's breathtaking how powerful you are. You are this amazing being with unlimited capacity to create. Now, I will say that every time I show up, whether I'm talking to you here in one of my 3-hour master classes, my year-long programs, or some of my clients have been with me for years. Every time we come together, I want to drill home for you how powerful you are. It's breathtaking how powerful you are. You are unlimited in your capacity to create. And what is that creative capacity? It's your thinking capacity. I love that quantum physics is now proving what spiritual masters have taught throughout the ages, that what you predominantly mentally rehearse in this faculty of your imagination and charge with your emotions has a frequency. There's a vibration to it. And that frequency then is now being impressed into this invisible field around us where there are, the quantum field, quantum physics calls the quantum field, where there are waves of energy hanging out in what they call superposition. And in some fantastical way, this unformed, potentialed energy forms around your predominant thought and feelings. It's the basic explanation of the law of attraction. All right, so that's a quick review of the law of attraction. That what you predominantly think about informs this energy and magnetizes and organizes accordingly, and it creates your world. All right, so we're understood with that. If you agree with that, give me some thumbs up in the comment section if you're hanging with me with this. All right, so that's the case then. Then think about the impact that a hurt or a betrayal or a resentment or a grudge or a blaming, when we blame, that sense of victimization. Think about the power and the impact that has on your capacity to create. So let's walk through a scenario. Somebody does something to hurt you. We can all come up with an example. I encourage you to come up with an example. Example that I can think of is that when my life and my business really started taking off after an extremely dark, difficult time, and from a very dark childhood, I had a long-term friend that, we were friends for, close to 30 years. And she said it was too hard to be around me. It was too difficult, that my the good that was happening in my life, it was too painful to be around. And so she basically stopped communicating with me. And I can remember how hurt I felt and how betrayed and how wounded and how wrong I felt about having success. That the what that did was that in my mind it said that if I really build a good life, if I really build success, then I will lose the people that are close to me. And I would go back and forth between being devastated and being angry and, oh my God, how selfish could she be? And I can't believe that she would even do that to me. And I thought I really meant something to her. And then it was like, oh my God, maybe I really am being selfish. And who do I think I am? And, all of this. And what it was doing was that it was eroding, number one, my sense of worthiness, my sense of deserving, my sense of that what was important to me mattered, and eroding all of that, and it threatened my momentum. That I had to really work hard to overcome that, because it was threatening my momentum. Casey, really good to see you, honey bunny. Talking about the power of forgiveness. And when I found myself in these conversations in my head with her, when I was really going to make a bold move and wondering, was this going to chase somebody else away? That if this thing worked, I was, what? I have got to do some deep forgiveness on this. I have got to let this go. What happens is when you are nursing a hurt, when you are taking on what somebody else said, when you're allowing yourself to be in that victim mode, right? That we're we're all like one thought away from being a victim. When we put ourselves in the position where somebody else has the ability to rob our well-being, what they actually do is rob our creativity, because they're not taking anything from us. But what we are allowing to happen is that we are letting the hurt take up space in our being and in our head. And so you now don't have access to your confidence. You don't have access to your boldness. You don't have access to the degree of creativity that you are created with. And what happens is that you start watering down what you believe is possible for you. You start slowing down your momentum. You're rather than thinking about possibility, you're thinking about, how it's not fair that they did this to you, and you're in these arguments in your head with them, and that it's like having a hole in your gas tank, and that gas is just siphoning out, and you can't figure out why you're tired and why you're losing your momentum, and why you don't have as much energy, and you just don't have as much access to your creativity, or where your confidence went. And it's all wrapped up in holding hostage people that you think are holding you hostage. In order to have a hurt, somebody has got to be held hostage, right? And oftentimes we'll be held hostage to other people's behavior, but we will then hold ourselves hostage as we hold them hostage to that hurt, if that makes sense. So anyway, you have to set them free in order to set yourself free. You have to be willing to let go of whatever that hurt is. And I'm not saying that this is easy. I mean, I was devastated when she said this to me, and there were some red flags all along the line. I just didn't want to see them. This was like the final thing, right? It's like, well, and she made it final with us, is that my best friend made the choice not to continue to be in relationship with me because I was getting like super successful. I was no longer needy. I was no longer groveling. I was no longer barely surviving. I was no longer somebody that, you could pity and see, wow, she's trying really hard. That I was somebody who really stepped into my skin and became a powerful force to reckon with. That my life took off. And for whatever the reason, she became very uncomfortable with that. And I knew in order to really be present in my life and to be able to keep this going, I had to forgive. I had to gain access back to my momentum, my creativity, my confidence, and my boldness. That my life mattered, and the people like you that I'm called to help mattered. So I walked myself through the same forgiveness process that I walk other people through, that I have discovered is a really, really powerful process. All right, so here is the process of how to forgive. Number one, don't do a spiritual bypass. Let yourself feel the human experiences. It hurt. It was painful to hear that my success was too much. Hey, Shai, talking about why forgiveness is necessary when you're building a business. So when my best friend said that my success was too much for her, that she couldn't be around me anymore because I had gotten too successful, it hurt. I mean, it really hurt. It was scary because I thought, oh my God, what if everybody else does this? And it just cut to the core. I mean, it cut to my core. And so I had to give myself permission to feel those feelings. I had to process those feelings. I had to write them out and journal about them and talk to somebody safe. And when I say somebody safe, I don't mean somebody who was going to just get on down in the mud with me and say, oh my God, you're right. What a horrible person. What a, fill in the blank with whatever, cuss word that you would fill in the blank with. I just, but I needed somebody who I could talk to and who could wrap their arms around me in compassion and support my process of really letting it go, to acknowledge the human pain while not digging into the victim as being a victim. And so I journaled about it, I talked about it, I processed it, and then when I took my journal and I wrote her a letter, and then I burned the letter. I let it go. I just cried and cried and cried and beat my pillow and, stomped my neighborhood and did all those things until I exhausted the human emotion, and then I let it go. I wrote it, burned it, and let it go. Now, that doesn't mean that it's complete, because there are some processes that you want to follow up with that. So once I processed the human emotion, then what I did was that I thanked her, and I didn't do this in person, but I thanked her for what she did bring into my life, that there were some amazing elements in our friendship, that there was some amazing things that she brought into my life, that she taught me how to be creative and taught me how to be spontaneous. That I'm pretty disciplined, and I still have to balance that. And she was extremely, spontaneous and kind of a wild child. And I learned that from her. I learned how to have fun. I learned how to be silly. I had room to do that. And so I wrote her a letter, not one that I mailed to her, but I wrote her a letter thanking her for the things that she did bring me, the things that I appreciated about her. Now, when you're nursing hurt, you're not going to be able to do this. This is why this is a really important benchmark or like barometer to let you know, have I really forgiven? Have I really let go here? That if you're still like, oh my God, there's nothing about her that I appreciate. She was just rotten to the core to me, and I can't believe that she did this to me. You have to go back and listen to the whole thing to get what I'm talking about. But nothing's one-dimensional, right? And when we live in a one-dimensional world, you will create one-dimensional results, whether it's in any area of your life, including your business. And so it's to owning the multi-dimensional elements of whatever the situation is. And so once you process the human emotion around something and not doing a spiritual bypass on it, then you want to really look at what are the things that you appreciate about this person and write those things out. And I'm not saying you have to contact the person if you're no longer in a relationship with them, but you at least want to acknowledge the things that you appreciate about them. So that's number 2. Then number 3, you want to cultivate compassion. You want to cultivate compassion for yourself, for being in a situation like that, for being on the receiving end of something like that, and then cultivate compassion for the other person. Doesn't mean that you're agreeing with the behavior and does not mean that you're going to put yourself back in the position of that behavior. But what you're doing is that you're acknowledging one human being to another human being. The story is simply an acting out of somebody's story, right? So whatever the story was that got played out in your life and the behavior of this other person, thank you for the heart, that somebody else's story is now just their brain. We all bring our stories to the current story, and it's interesting because I realize, as I bring compassion to somebody else, I have to bring compassion to myself. And I have to see what's my side of the street. So that's number 4. So offer compassion for the other person and to yourself, that we're all human beings doing the best we can, showing up, and just to acknowledge our humanity. Then to look at, was there something for me? Is there something for me to clean up? What is on my side of the street that I need to clean up? One of the things that I often talk about with my clients is, stay inside your own hula hoop, and what's inside your hula hoop, in terms of what is it that you need to clean up. So I looked and to think, okay, did I gloat? Did I brag? I didn't do any of that, but what I did do was that I didn't make myself as available. As I really got involved in especially building my business out, I put less attention on my relationships. I didn't reach out as much. I wasn't accessible. Now, I was pretty much the initiator in that relationship, throughout the relationship, but I didn't initiate. And so, I needed to acknowledge that I wasn't as available. And so, part of her response might have been in hurt feelings that I wasn't as accessible. So I had to clean up my side of the street and make amends for that. So, human experience, don't do a spiritual bypass. What are the things that you appreciate about the other person? Generating compassion. Compassion for yourself, compassion for them, one human being for another, does not mean that you agree with a single thing that they did. You are not condoning it, and you are certainly not putting yourself back in the position to be on the receiving end of it again. But we all bring our stories, and so offering compassion for yourself and for this other person, and then looking at what are the things that I need to clean up? What's my side of the street here? What are the things that I need to make amends for? And then finally, and this is the biggie. So here's the mastery, right? As soon as you do all of that, and obviously there's a whole process of that. I'm basically condensing a longer term process into about 20 minutes here, because I wanted to give you the basis for why forgiveness is important. But the final step, and this is one that I'm going to encourage you to do over a period of time, is that you pray for this person. Pray for this person the same things that you want for yourself. Now, so if you want peace of mind, pray that they cultivate or develop or receive peace of mind. If you want just amazing success, then pray for them that whatever that looks like, that they receive amazing success. If you want love, pray for them that they receive love, that they are able to see themselves worthy and deserving of love. Now, this is what the prayer may sound like in the beginning. If you don't get hit by a semi-truck while you're trying to cross the interstate today, and I hope to God you got a reason to cross the interstate, then I hope and pray that all good things come to you. Because there's a part of you that may get activated that may say, well, they don't deserve good. They don't deserve any of this. Why would I be praying for any of this for them? They hurt me. They certainly don't deserve this. And close the door. Speaking of forgiveness, I got the garbage trucks going. So we're going to dump the garbage in the garbage trucks outside. So every day for 30 days, you're going to override those thoughts. You're going to override those feelings that want to tell you that they don't deserve it. And nevertheless, because what you're doing is that you're freeing you. You have to let them go in order for you to be free. You have to let them go in order for you to have access to your boldness, your confidence, your creativity, your innovation, all of those elements that are absolutely necessary for you to build a business. You cannot build a business and nurse a hurt and resentment at the same time. You just can't do it. So you're doing walking through the human experience. You don't want to do a spiritual bypass, pouring it out, then looking at the things that you did appreciate about that person. You're offering compassion. Maybe those two things need to be switched around, to offer compassion and then look at what you appreciate about them. Look at your side of the street. What are the things that you need to clean up and possibly make amends for? And then pray for them every day. Do an experiment for 30 days. And I'm thinking of somebody, that my next forgiveness person as well. So for 30 days, let's make a pact. For 30 days, every day for the next 30 days, let's pray for the well-being that this person receives, Sheila, all good things. That you want the person that hurt you to pray for them to receive all good things. As you do this, you're letting them go, which means you're letting you go from them. You're disengaging, which will give you back your confidence, your creative capacity, your boldness, your innovation, all of those elements that you'll have your focus on the things that count and that will move you forward. All of those elements that are important and for you to have access to in order for you to build a business. Yeah, Casey, I'll do a whole nother live on forgiving yourself. So, come to, you're a client, so come to the calls this month because we're going to dig into that. All right, so here's my invitation for you. I would love to support you further in building out your amazing life that you deserve. And part of it is developing deep, rich, loving relationships with yourself and those around you. And part of it, a key part of it, is forgiveness. And that's one of the things that we're going to be working on in my coaching group over the next couple of weeks. So here's what I would love to offer you. Friday, this coming Friday, February 19th, 9:30 to 12:30 Pacific time, I am offering a free masterclass, 3 keys to creating your best year ever. We're still early in the year. This is February. We're still on the front end of the year. Come, let me help you understand the formula of how to bring this amazing creative capacity from your imagination and bring this life, this business, this life that you would love into the facts of your life. The masterclass is free. We're going to dig into building out a vision, understanding more deeply what is the creative capacity, how do you work with these invisible laws, look at where are those places that you get stuck, give you some tools on how to keep moving, and just be celebrated in an amazing community. The only thing I ask is that you make a charitable contribution to a cause of your choice. So, February 19th, this Friday, 9:30 to 12:30. Let's dig in deep. Let's get you going. The registration is up in the description. Together, let's get you forgiving so you can have access to the life that you deserve, the life that you are meant to live. All right, so my name is Felicia Searcy, your Dream Life Activator. It is my joy to be your partner in believing. Your dream is my passion, and I look forward to seeing you Friday, February 19th, 9:30 to 12:30 Pacific time. Free. Register up in the description, and see you Friday. Mwah. God bless.